Taryn Papa. I'm from Middlebury, Connecticut, and I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I've always wanted to audition for The Voice. Ever since I was a senior in college, I remember the very first episode, spring semester 2011. I've watched it religiously and have been a huge fan ever since. It's a goal of mine to get on the show, to be recognized outside of my small town. The Voice is a talent show that allows you to be heard before you've even been seen, and all I've ever wanted is a chance to be heard. I've dedicated my life to creating music, and The Voice is the perfect platform for me to be heard by the world, to meet respected people in my industry, and to advance in my career. My hometown is Middlebury, Connecticut, and I would say that my father is my biggest fan rooting for me back home. Whenever I hop on stage, it's like I can almost hear his voice yelling, "Go T-Pop!" It's a little nickname for me. All the way from Connecticut. My extended family, totaling in probably about 50 people, are also behind me. I currently live in Nashville, Tennessee, where I've been the past 7 years. I left behind my full-time position as a performer at Blake Shelton's bar, Ole Red. With this show being socially distant, I feel as though our overall experience has been altered. Silly things like needing a tissue after a tearful question in an interview is a whole process. It takes like 4 people to figure out how to touch the box of tissues to get you an actual tissue, because we're not allowed to touch anything. So it's actually pretty funny. I will say though that because this season is socially distant, we've had the opportunity to connect on a level that many other seasons might not have had. For example, we're doing Zoom game nights, FaceTimes, and we've had to have creative ways of getting to know each other because of this isolation. As a creative person, our minds generally want to explore and go out into the open and find new things and inspiration and connect with people, and very extroverted type. And for us, for me personally, this season has been really difficult because we've been limited to our hotel room, and I want to get to know everybody. I want to know who you are, where you're from, what you love to do, what you love to sing. And so for me, it's definitely been a challenge, but I think that as a whole unit, we've really grown extremely close together because we're all that we have. My grandfather was my inspiration to start singing. He is the root to my music. It was then that I would sit down next to my grandfather while my grandmother made dinner, and he would teach me new songs, and I began to fall in love. I don't know chords, I don't know notes, I just know what I hear, and it was like magic. And I would just mimic whatever it was that he was playing based on what I heard and where his fingers were placed. So we played everything by ear. When my grandfather was 72, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I always use this kind of to represent what he went through. But the room was empty until he occupied it with music, and then his mind became the empty room. And until I occupied it with music, it wasn't then that he could remember and have feelings of memories and moments, and it would bring him back. I would bring him into this room and play him the songs that inspired and ignited my passion for music. And he would have glimpses where he would say, "I think I know this song," or "I've heard this before." It was really hard to watch the head surgeon of a hospital, my grandfather as a medical doctor, slowly melt away. We visited him every day and suffered watching him suffer. He's still with me every performance, and I love hearing stories of how he helped people. And knowing that I'm helping people through my music is something that I aim to do with my career, to leave an impression on someone just like my grandfather did his whole life. Music is my way to connect with others. My dad and I used to sing Four Non-Blondes on a karaoke machine in our living room when I was about 7 years old, and that was the first time that I ever really noticed I was singing. that I remembered words and melodies. And it became the first song I would ever learn to play on the guitar. I still sing it at every show to this day. I developed a strong relationship with God, and I started singing through church choir. And once I learned that I was responsible for others having a good time, or finding an emotion, or remembering a memory, or taking them back to 16 years old listening to, Springsteen, it kind of catapulted my career. And I knew that Connecticut was not going to be enough for me. I had to move to Nashville, and that